The reason you exist might be because one ancient woman stopped having babies, which sounds like evolution made a mistake. Because in nature, reproduction is usually the whole game. Make babies, pass on your genes, survive long enough to do it again. But human females evolved something so rare that scientists still argue about it today. Menopause. The body shuts down reproduction, then keeps the woman alive for decades. That should be useless, unless evolution was not creating an ending, unless it was creating grandma. And this idea has a name. The grandmother hypothesis. It suggests that menopause may have helped ancient humans survive because older women stopped having more children of their own and started helping their grandchildren stay alive, which sounds sweet, until you realize this may be one of the reasons humans conquered the planet, because ancient human childhood was a disaster. A baby horse can stand within hours. A baby wildebeest can run from predators almost immediately. A baby human? A baby human spends months staring at its own hand like it just discovered alien technology. And it gets worse. Human children stay helpless for years. They need food, protection, teaching, carrying, watching, comforting, and constant prevention from doing things like eating dirt with confidence. Now imagine raising that child 100,000 years ago. No house, no fridge, no medicine cabinet, no I'll just order groceries, just heat, hunger, predators, parasites, sharp rocks, and a toddler trying to speedrun extinction. And here's the real problem. Ancient mothers were not always raising one neat little baby at a time. A mother could have a nursing infant, a weaned child who still could not feed itself properly, and another pregnancy on the way. That is not parenting. That is an unpaid survival triathlon. So evolution had a problem. How do you keep slow-growing, helpless children alive long enough for their giant brains to become useful? The answer may have been, do not make the mother do it alone. Enter grandma. In many hunter-gatherer societies, older women gather food, process food, share food, watch children, and carry survival knowledge younger adults may not have yet. They know where edible plants grow. They know which roots are safe. They know when fruit appears. They know which shortcut is actually a death trap with better branding. Ancient children did not just need calories. They needed reliable calories, especially after weaning, because once a child is too old to survive only on breast milk, but too young to gather enough food alone, they enter the danger zone. They are between baby mode and useful human mode, like a software update stuck at 42%. This is where a grandmother could change everything. If she helped feed the child had a better chance of surviving. If the child survived, the mother could recover faster. If the mother recovered faster, she could have another child sooner. And if more descendants survived, the grandmother's genes kept moving forward. That is the cheat code. Evolution does not only reward having babies, it rewards having babies who live. But here's where menopause gets really weird. From the outside, it looks like the body is removing direct reproduction. But from an evolutionary perspective, grandchildren are not random tiny roommates. They carry your DNA, so helping them survive can still help your genes survive. That is why the grandmother hypothesis is so powerful. It reframes older women not as biologically finished, but as redirected survival specialists. They were not out of the game. They changed positions, from player to coach. And ancient humans desperately needed coaching, because survival was not just about strength. A young adult might be fast, a young hunter might be brave, but an older woman might remember the famine. She might remember which plant saved the group last dry season. She might know when a child's fever was dangerous. She might know which berries were dinner, and which berries were a bathroom emergency with spiritual consequences. Before books, schools, maps, or search engines, knowledge lived inside people, and older people were walking libraries. Except instead of late fees, the penalty for ignoring them was being eaten. This is the part we often get wrong about human evolution. We imagine ancient survival as one dramatic hunter throwing a spear at a mammoth. Very cinematic, very intense, very incomplete, because a species does not survive only through big heroic moments. It survives through daily boring victories. A child gets fed. A mother rests. A fever is noticed. A dangerous plant is avoided. A camp moves before food runs out. A crying baby is held while someone else gathers dinner. That is not flashy, but that is civilization before civilization, and grandmothers may have made those daily victories more likely. Now, here's the pattern interrupt. Humans are not the only animals with long post-reproductive life. Some toothed whales, like orcas, also have older females who stop reproducing and help their family groups. In hard times, older female orcas can lead relatives to food sources they remember from decades earlier, which means, even in the ocean, grandma is basically saying, I told you I knew where the good buffet was. But in humans, this may have combined with something even more explosive, culture. Because when children survive longer, they learn more. When they learn more, they become better adults. When better adults teach the next generation, knowledge compounds. That is how a weak ape with no claws eventually becomes an animal that can cook food, make tools, track seasons, tell stories, build tribes, cross oceans, and argue in comment sections like it is a sacred duty. And here is the crazy part. Grandma may not have been helping despite menopause. Menopause may have existed because grandma was helping. That is a completely different way to see the human body. Not as a machine that failed, but as a survival system that changed jobs. Because long childhood only works if the group can support it. A slow-growing child is not a weakness if the family has backup. There is another possible advantage too. Menopause may have reduced competition between mothers and daughters. Imagine an older mother and her adult daughter both having babies in the same harsh environment. Same food, same helpers, same limited energy. That can create conflict. But if the older woman stops having children and helps her daughter instead, the family stops competing with itself. It becomes more efficient. Now, scientists still debate exactly how menopause evolved. Human evolution is messy. It is not one clean story where evolution opens a laptop and says, "Today, I will invent grandmothers." But the grandmother hypothesis explains something deeply human. We are not built like lone predators. We are built like a network. A baby needs a mother. A mother needs support. A family needs memory, a group needs teachers, and sometimes the most important person is not the strongest, fastest, or youngest. It is the person who has survived long enough to know what not to do. That is why menopause may be one of the strangest success stories in evolution, because from the outside, it looks like the body is closing a door, but in human history, it may have opened another one. Older women could redirect energy away from having more children and toward making sure the children already born did not die doing something aggressively stupid. So maybe humans did not conquer the planet because we were the strongest animal. Maybe we conquered it because we became the animal that protected its weakest members long enough for them to become brilliant. And one of the reasons that worked was Grandma, not a side character, not biologically finished, a walking archive of survival, the person who remembered where food grew, what danger looked like, which child needed help, and what mistakes had already killed someone before. Before schools, before hospitals, before written language, before civilization itself, humans had memory, and sometimes that memory had gray hair.